Call right now, okay?
All right.
Okay, bye. Hey, this is Keith with McKinsey. Just had a phone call from my brother. Hopefully he gets us on YouTube here. But we are now live every Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We do live chat, and we take questions from the audience, from some owner builders out there. Again, we are just, this is a channel for owner builders and those who are looking to be general contractors, even general contractors, get to watch an actual contractor talk about what he's going through, how he builds, hiccups he has, how he deals with those types of things, all kinds of things. I want to try to start the conversation today with something interesting. And as a business owner, like my son had made an interesting comment the other day ago, and we found somebody he wanted to hire in his business. It was great. And he goes through a lot of applications and he looks at people until he sees what he's looking for. And so I have a question for you as an owner builder. If you were to go out there and look at subcontractors, even suppliers, what's the number one thing you're looking for? And if you know what that thing is, then you can spot it right away. But if you don't know what that one core principle is, you're not going to spot it right away, right, sweetie? Mm-hmm. So I want you to think about what the number one thing is you're looking for. And for me, there's a couple of them, but at the top of the list is communication. How quick they're able to respond back to you and how quick they're able to give you some feedback. Like I called a roofer of mine and he didn't answer. Within about a minute and a half, his assistant called me and says, "Hey, this is Joe, what can I do for you?" And I go, "Yeah, I had some supplies that came up on a job site, but they left them in the street. They didn't put them in the garage." And what did he say? "We've got a crew that's real close by there. By the end of the day, I will have them go there after their job and put everything in the garage." I go, "Thank you very much." Communication. If he didn't respond back, then he couldn't have had his scheduler make something happen today. It'd be a delay of a day, and who knows how long materials would have been in the street. So communication is really, really important for me. And that's how I spot care. And that's the second thing I look for. If they care about their workmanship, if they care about the name of their business, I measure that care, that basic caring factor by how well they communicate. Mm-hmm. And so if you have something that's close or something different that you're looking for, you see it immediately. But if you don't look for it, you're going to be up a creek. Now, here's what I'm talking about. If the number one thing you're looking for is the cheapest deal in the cheapest block in the cheapest town, and if you're looking for that, you're going to find it pretty quick. And then you're not going to find the real important stuff, right, sweetie?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I've seen a lot of owner builders just make that mistake where they are looking for the cheapest deal they possibly can. And as a result, they find that because the subcontractor picks up on that. They pick up on the fact that you are looking for the cheapest deal, and as a result, they're going to give it to you. And then you think you're great. You think that communication, you think quality, you think timely completion of the work, you think everything else is going to come with it, and it doesn't. There are some principles or values that people carry that transfer over into everything else they do in life. And care and communication, those two things, they tend to transfer over into just about everything else they do in life. But if they're looking for a cheap deal, it's going to be a nightmare. I want you to think about that and what is most important to you. And then if you know what that is, you're going to spot it in some subcontractors, and you're going to be able to engage in contract. And keep in mind, that's what you are doing. You are engaging a contract. I mentioned this before. The founding fathers really talked about every citizen should learn how to read, write, and engage in contract. Then we dumbed that down to mean arithmetic. And engaging in a contract is far superior than engaging in arithmetic. And so we're trying to get people back to that. By being an owner builder, you are learning how to engage in contract. So I wanted to just start that off today. And if you have any questions relative to that particular question, we can really answer that. And let's start with some questions. We already got a long list here going, so let's go ahead and get into that. Mm-hmm. And then I've got my daughter here, so any questions you have for her, you can ask those questions. So first question, I'll let you read it, sweetie.
No,
you want to read it? I'll read it. Hi, Kai. Good to see you. Do you typically I can't see with these glasses. There
Do
we
you
are.
want me to read it then?
Yeah, you read
Okay.
it.
Do you typically negotiate on bid estimates? I've noticed a significant variance in some line items, and I'm wondering if I can bring those in line with the other bids.
You can try, and you can say, I like your quality, I like your communication, I like something about you. And I had other bids, and one was 15,000 more, one was 6,000 more, and yours was 20,000 more. Is there any way we can work this out?
Mhm.
I liked your contract. You can say something you liked about them, because there's a reason why you want to go with them, and try to negotiate that down. But if you have comparable bids, that helps. If you don't have comparable bids, it's going to be harder, because what you're doing is you're browbeating a person's bid. But if you see something that's obviously much, much lower by a significant margin, and another bid that's even much lower than that, then you can negotiate. But if you don't have those, it's kind of hard to negotiate.
I do
So-
it. I do it on our projects. When I get two bids and I kind of go line item by line item, and I sometimes reach out to the sub and say, hey, why was this line item so much cheaper? And they actually give me the reason why. Well, that guy didn't include this, this, and this. And so it's like, oh, okay, I'm glad I reached out. So I mean, I'm kind of open with the subs in that way, but I don't think there's anything wrong with reaching out with them and talking to them. But yeah, don't want to, what was the word you used? Browbeat them.
Yeah. There's other words, but I don't want to be anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
We can go into this a little bit more later, but what I wanted to talk about is that when you get a bid from somebody, sometimes some subcontractors want to list everything, and they'll line item everything, and here's some options. And what that does is it increases the cost of the total bid. They don't want to scare you off, but some want to scare you off. They only want the best. They want to sell the bid that they're offering. Others just want the work, and they'll actually eliminate certain line items there. This is going to be extra. Call us for more details or something like that. But they don't want to put that number in there because it's going to increase the potential of them not getting the job. So they're going to remove some stuff. Now, be careful of that. It's kind of a little bait and switch situation where they'll give you a low bid to get you tied in, and then you sign the contract and you say, well, it doesn't include that. Well, yeah, it was in my contract. Did you not read my contract? And so if it's not included, that's another price hike. So look at your bids very carefully. Some will itemize everything, give you a total bid, total cost, some won't. And so you have to know what you're dealing with. And that's just kind of a key factor to look at. Okay, next question. Okay, Kayun, I'll let you read that, sweetie.
In general, what percentage of the build is for excavation for basement foundation?
That's a really good question. That's a hard one
Percentage
to answer.
of the build.
Let's say it's a $500,000 build. And let's say the basement is 2,000 square feet. Excavation on a home like that, let's say it's worst case scenario, and you got to hammer out rock. That could be anywhere north of $60,000. If they don't have to hammer out rock, that could be maybe 20, 30,000 less. If they can leave the soil on site and you use it as a native grading for native soils, that could drop it off even more.
That is a really hard question.
So that's what I'm saying. It's a really hard question to answer because you have to look at too many factors to actually finally break it down to the percentage you're looking for. But I've seen excavation be a good 20, 30% of a build.
If you were going to budget it, if you had just a general idea to try and stay in a budget.
No, it all depends on your soils. It all depends on your soil. You could have a 10-foot overX, or you could be like pad ready and you just have to dig down. It completely depends on your soil report.
Yeah. If you know me and listen to me on a lot of podcasts or posts on YouTube, I go up, I don't go down. I try to talk people out of going down unless it's built into a hill or a walkout basement or something like that where it's already part of the layout of the land. Other than that, I try to avoid it. So excavation and concrete are not what they used to be. They're much more expensive. Okay. Next question. Josh, if I stand back and see it. In Cedar City, I need to get Water. Oh, maybe you can read that, sweetie. My glasses are.
In Cedar City, I need to get water lines to a casita and I can go through the breezeway or attic. Would attic be better or code doesn't allow that?
You're going to freeze if you go through the attic. You want to go under the
They're all
breezeway. Clean. I got dirty glasses. You want to go under the breezeway if it's not already paved. That might be the best route to go. But once you go up and over and through the frame structure of the home, now you're risking it freezing. So you want to stay away from that. Okay, next question.
Okay. Hello, Keith. Oh, I'm supposed to say the name. Jagadish. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't have my glasses on.
Hello,
Sorry.
Keith. Thank you for taking questions. As a owner builder, what kind of insurance I need to get? I am estimating construction costs is $850,000.
You can talk to. It won't be as much as what we pay. We pay anywhere from $7,000 to $14,000 a year, depending upon our total revenue that we anticipate for that year. So your insurance agent's going to ask you how much is the total cost to build, and then they'll give you a policy on that amount. And if you have a current policy on a current home you have, you might be able to add it as a rider. But contact the insurance people in the self-help or the self-managed course in the download section. You'll see it, architects, engineers, and suppliers and resources. Check that. And then there's 2 insurance companies I found that are nationwide, and they specialize in insurance for builders and for owner builders. So reach out to them and let them know. And they may ask for a budget, and they even may ask for specifications on the build. Some of them are getting a little more detailed because of fire issues. And so they may want to know how you're going to build it and what kind of supplies and materials. But reach out to them and find out. Okay.
And something I learned on insurance that I didn't know 6 months ago was because I was talking to our insurance agent for a new project to get a policy just for that project. And you only need to give them the amount that you don't have to give for your budget. Say it's $850,000. You don't have to give them any of the design portion. So like the building permit, the architectural, the engineering, you don't have to give them that amount. You want to subtract that amount from the $850,000. You only want to give them the amount for construction. Yeah, the hard costs.
Material costs to go into the build.
Material costs only. So that's something I just learned. So I don't like, you might have already known that, but that's something I just learned.
They call it replacement costs. So if it's the same design, same everything, then it's just the material replacement costs.
Yep.
Okay. Next question. JC, what's the best way to find subcontractors?
Networking. Isn't that what you don't think? Is that what you think? Yeah.
Yeah. Networking. I have a business network, and I met a gentleman there who focuses on remodels, and we liked him so much we're adding him on some other things we're doing. And it's all because of networking. And there's a lot of business networks in your town. If not, you can start one up. And if you want to learn
start with Home Builders,
Home
the
Builders.
Home Builders Association.
Yep. Home
So
Builders
start
Association.
there. You'll find lots of subs,
Right.
and you'll find lots of builders too.
Right.
And you can talk to the builders and see who they use, who they like. So
Right.
start at the Home Builders Association, wherever you're at.
I have some family that did a home up in Boise, Idaho, and they ran into 2-3 other owner builders, and they actually started a builder network. And they actually started attracting subcontractors, and other owner builders joined in, and it grew to be something kind of interesting. So if you can't find a network, you don't be afraid to just say, hey, we're going to meet at the local banquet here, and we're going to start networking and talking. And if you have any, maybe we can talk about that some other day. But I have formed a business network in my community, so I know a lot about that. It works. If you don't get out there and network and talk, and don't tell people you're an owner builder, just tell them you are a builder, and get a simple logo for $5 and get an email for even cheaper, and call yourself a builder. Just call it that for what it is, and people will treat you a little differently. Okay. Josh, do you install washer dryer pans and run the outlet to drain if there is a leak, or how do they drain?
Washer dryer pans and run the outlets to no, we don't have a washer dryer pan in our homes.
That's because we put drains in all of our laundry rooms. In the floor, if it's a wood floor, and then we actually do a small little recessed drain if it's concrete. And
our drain is actually in the wall.
Yeah.
We don't put a floor drain. But I mean, that's an extra bonus that we could do.
Yeah.
But our drain is in the wall. But we don't
Which
do
one? Which job did we do the wall in?
in Pine Valley.
We
there's
did that in the wall?
The drain's in the wall.
No, floor drain.
Yeah, we don't have a floor drain in the laundry room.
Okay. Thought we did a floor drain there.
Mm-mm.
I always usually do a floor drain there. We have to check that and say, hey, we didn't do that.
It's a wood floor.
I know. I still
No,
put
it's
it
a
in
tile
there.
floor. Sorry.
I still put them in there.
Oh, yeah.
Concrete's for sure easy, and then any kind of a floor, put a drain in there. I think you're talking about install washer dryer pans, and so you're talking about the drain in case the washer floods over.
Yeah, he is. But I just want to tell you, in high-end luxury, though, they don't like a drain
In the floor.
in the floor.
Yeah.
But that's why in our laundry rooms, we always put tile. So we put tile in our laundry room, but we don't have a pan. We haven't put a pan in ours.
You have not done pans. I do pans underneath the water heater if it's a tanked water heater, but not for anything else.
But that's a good idea. That's smart.
Yeah, it's not bad. Okay, next question. Night sucker, whatever. That's kind of
Nighty night suck.
do you issue purchase orders or accept the contractor's bid? Purchase orders are really for government contracting and large commercial contracting. I haven't seen it too much in the residential arena, although every once in a while I've seen it. And I'm familiar with the purchase order situation. If it's the contractor bid, and if you've accepted the contractor's bid and they're supplying the materials, let them supply the materials. Usually they have net 30 to pay. And so it's on their account. So the only thing you want to watch out for is if that supply house issues a notice of commencement on your job and they file that with the state. Usually there's a website they can do that for cheap. And if that's done, then they need to release that before you pay them or even after they paid them. You just want to have that released. Otherwise, you can't get if you're going to get a permanent financing or if you're going to sell it or whatever, that's going to get tied up in the whole process. So you want to get that released. Okay. Next question.
JC.
I'll let you read that.
As an owner builder, what's the best way to learn the permit application process and get all the specs? By the way, your advices are very helpful. Well, thank you.
I'll let you answer that one, sweetie.
Well, I go to the city. Yeah. I don't know. First, for our city inspect, it's actually really nice. When I have a question and I can't remember a certain application, it actually has that little icon next to it, and it tells you exactly what you need to upload for that line. But yeah, going to the city, just going to the building department with your questions. I would go to the building department first and ask questions, and they can guide you in the right direction. But
most cities are online. I'd say probably 90% of the cities throughout the United States and even counties are online. Some of them are not that sophisticated. Some of them might still be paper-based. So you just have to go into the permitting office, talk with the inspector or one of the chief building officials and ask them, hey, what's the process for applying for a permit? Imagine going to college and you're going there for a high school student and you're going to learn about the application process. You're going to learn about the accrediting and how you get, I need to get that test score there. I need to get this there, all that. And you find out what you need to be applied. It's the same thing. Go into the city, you ask them, they give you a list of things and they tell you the process. And that's how you learn. And once you go through that, guess what? You can teach somebody else how to do it. That's really what it's all about. So just getting in there, into their face and talking with them one-on-one there's nothing more powerful than that. Okay. Craig Lofgreen, I'm building 2 1,200 square foot homes, 45 minutes from Tucson. In addition to paying well, what can I do to get subs to travel so far? 45 minutes from Tucson. Paying well, what can I do to get subs to travel so far? Are they at the same time? Are the two home? If the two homes are at the same time, that's a pretty good incentive. Well, you're gonna, yeah. If you got some economy of scale, and if they're on omniblock homes, you might want to get a little rental unit, or something like that, where you can cover their night stay so they can work 410s,
Mhm.
something like that. And then you negotiate the price on that because they're just going to have to drive back home and it's going to be a cost anyway. But that speeds up their time on the job, gets more done in that amount of time. I've actually done that a couple of times when I built up in the mountains, because going down on the mountain it's not fun. And if they can get 410s in there and just work 4 days a week, they can get things done much faster.
Mhm.
Keep in mind, driving a big rig, especially masons, they're going to probably drive a big diesel rig, and we're talking $85 to $140 just to fill up that rig. So they're going to spend probably $300 a week minimum just getting back and forth to the job site. And that's a huge cost. And so if you can help offset that cost, or tell them you'll help with some gas or what have you, that's going to help them out quite a bit. And so negotiate whether they want to do 410s and find a B&B somewhere, have them stay there for 2 weeks and that they take care of it. And we're talking about omniblock and framing. Those are the two crews that are going to be there for a long duration. If you can help with that quite a bit, then you're going to help them, and you're going to get a sub that's going to want to be on your job site. So the other thing is, I have a framing crew, a good friend, and he actually bought a big, huge RV. So he's sending framing crews throughout the Intermountain West, and they take the big RV there. It's a big fifth wheel, and they just tow it, park it, start framing. When they're done, they work long 10, 11-hour shifts. They eat all their food and whatnot, and they go to sleep, and they wake up, and when they're done, they take that fifth wheel and they're on to the next job. So if you've got two homes, it might even be beneficial to say, I've got a fifth wheel on job site, run the numbers and say, hey, if I rent an Airbnb for this amount of time versus getting a fifth wheel that's used but it's in good shape, you
Well,
can run the numbers.
I think for 45 minutes, just paying them well should get them there.
Yeah.
If it's just 45
close.
minutes isn't bad.
Yeah,
Once
it's not
it
bad.
starts getting to like an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours away, that's when it's like,
Yeah.
okay.
You should be able to. And then when they are there, take them to some lunch every once in a while.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question.
Oh, wait. Sorry.
Okay. Don Skiller. I like that name. Don Skiller. Sounds like Ben
Oh, wait,
Stiller.
sorry, I did the wrong one.
Okay. Doug B. We'll come back to that one. Doug B. What finish do you have on the outside of the Omniblock room you're in? I like the split face rough blocks, but my wife thinks they look too industrial for a house. Ours is stucco, and it's a finish coat stucco only, and we had to apply some liquid to it. But I have hardy trim, and I screwed it right to the bucked window. So I actually bucked my windows with 2x8 material all the way around that window back there. Where am I at? All the way around that window, there's a 2x8 frame structure there. And then I put the window on side of that, and then I trim hardy on the outside of that, and we painted it. So, and the neat thing is that I had that wood as a material to bite into for the screw to hold that trim, and it's held up really, really nicely. Now, a lot of people don't do bucks inside the window, but here's the thing. When you build the Omniblock, you have to buck it anyway to support the bond beam up above until it cures. So you're going to buy that lumber, even if you just do a 2x4 lumber for bucking it. I just go the full 2x8 material, and it's just nice. And then if you did some trim on the inside, again, you'd have a place to nail that trim to. But I just wrapped it with a drywall. But if you wanted to trim that out, it gets to be really hard. If not, if you don't put any trim around it, it's a different window. You don't want to do a flange window on an Omniblock home because it's going to be exposed. You're going to see it. So that's why I did the buck, because I can nail the flange to it. Now I bury the flange with trim. I got the meat to bite into. So if not, it's got to be a flangeless window, which is considered basically a remodel window, not a flanged window. So talk with your window suppliers, even talk with Danny at Omniblock and ask him his recommendations on it. But me personally, I bucked all my windows with Omniblock. On the 3 homes I built with Omniblock, all of them were bucked with 2x8 material. Don Skiller. Now we're getting to, it sounds like Ben Stiller, but Don Stiller. Which wall and roof sheeting gives the most bang for the buck? Really good question. Problem.
Like OSB sheeting?
Something like this. This is getting to be more popular. I actually talked with the supplier in Texas on this. And the neat thing is you've got a higher R value. Not a fan of spray-in foam, but I do like this type of mechanically applied foam. And then you just put it on the wall just like that. And you got your OSB on the outside. And then you've got some extra R3, sometimes R1.5. If it's thicker like this with a whole full inch, that's going to be almost R.4, 0.2, something like that, a higher R value. To me, rather than get zip sheeting just for that coating on the outside, this would give you more R value. But the only problem is you have to talk to the engineer to say, will this give me the same shear strength? And if it will, great. If you don't have a shear wall, then it's not an issue at all. But to me, that's a great wall system. And for the sheeting system, I love to go a little thicker sheeting.
3/4.
I love to go a
Right.
half inch on my sheeting. They have what's called 932s, which is really, really thin sheeting, but it's supposed to be okay. But you see on asphalt shingle roofs, you see that sagging. So I don't go with what most builders do. I go around 1932s, and it's a little under a half an inch by just a hair. But when you get on that roof, it's really rigid. It holds a lot more weight, and then you don't have that sagging issue. So, but these are some products that are out there. I've talked about these in some other videos as well. But just research and find out some of those products that are out there. Okay, next question. MG, looking at property where a neighbor may have built a structure over the property line, can a survey company mark the corners of the property without a full-blown recorded survey? It's going to get recorded anyway. They have to, by a law, most state law, they have to record that survey with the county. And once they stake it, then you can come to the neighbor and say, hey, I've got an issue here. Now, here's the problem. They could push back and say, yeah, but I wasn't party to that contract of that survey. And how do I know you didn't move the stakes? So approach the property owner first and say, hey, can we get this survey to make sure that we're all okay? Don't accuse them of anything until after the fact. Go up there and say, hey, let's get this surveyed. Will you willing to price this? So I don't have the money for it. Says I'll pay for it. But you're going to accept the survey if it's done? And if he says yes, get that in writing. If you can't even through an email, now that it's in writing, the survey comes. It's got a paper survey, and you've got the stakes at the same time. And then you can talk to him and say, hey, what do we do about this structure? It's on the property. Here's a really interesting story with regard to that. I was on the planning commission with my county, and somebody complained in a neighborhood that somebody built a horse barn too close to the road. Lo and behold, it's called an encroachment, and they applied for what's called an easement or a special a variance. They asked for a variance, and variances are not easy to get. Okay, because it means that the planning commission or even the commissioners or even the staff, they have to break law or find a justifiable window to break that law. And if it doesn't meet certain criteria, you're not going to get the variance. And they're not going to be very easy with regard to that. So variances are after the fact are not easy to get. So more than likely, if the building is on that property, he's going to have to move it. And he's not going to get a variance, especially if it's encroaching on your property. Getting too close to his setback, that's one thing. That's a variance issue. But if it's an encroachment, that's an entirely different thing, and he needs to probably have to have that building moved off that encroachment.
The question is, can a survey company mark the corners of the property without the
I know that. I answered the question.
No, they usually don't do like a partial.
They have to record that, like I said, every time. And I talked with the surveyor about this about a month ago, and he says, Keith, I have to record everything. It's part of his requirement in the state that we are in. It may not be in your state, but you can call the surveyor and ask him. But there are some consequences because you say there's an encroachment issue there, and I'm just giving you some of the things you deal with when it's an encroachment issue. Mike Sutton, Prosoco painted on OSB or zip sheeting. I don't know what Prosoco is. Do you know what that is?
Soco painted
It's-
on OSB.
It's probably
Is
replacing.
like a weatherproof? Is
Probably
it like a
that.
weatherproofing?
Could be a weatherproofing, but you don't need to do the whole wall structure. You just need to do the first foot and then underneath the windows. That's all. That's it. That's where your weakest points are for any leakage on a wall structure, is right under the seals of the window, and then that transition between the concrete and the framing structure. Go to the YouTube videos. One that came out. When did that come out? Tuesday night.
Yeah.
The transition.
Mhm.
Go to the video that came out just 2 days ago
Was
and
it-
watch that video. And it came out Tuesday night.
Tuesday. Mhm.
Yeah, it came out Tuesday. And watch that video. All of you should watch it. It's very, very informative video. It gives you the products and all that kind of stuff. But I know Josh was asking about it 2 weeks ago. Josh, check out that video and all the product. I give the source of the product and all that kind of stuff. So you wouldn't need to coat the whole OSB if you did anything. You just need to do the areas I mentioned. And that video explains that. Okay.
I'll put it in the
My wife will put it
comments.
in the comments. Okay. Okay, next one. I'll let you read this one, Kinsey.
JC, as an owner builder with no construction background, how to control the quality of the subcontractors? Any book or instructions of construction quality control, or hire someone to inspect?
The checklist at how to build your own home. And make sure you download the checklists, print them up. So when framing comes, look at the checklist. When plumbing is done, look at the checklist. When all that stuff is done, look at the checklists. And I didn't overcomplicate those checklists like I talk too much. When I talk, each checklist has very verifiable things you can look at, check it off, look at, and check it off. That's going to give you the most information you could ever imagine. And you can walk on, and then when you walk on the job site, don't be intimidating, be friendly. Hey, how do you do that? That's interesting. And ask them questions. And if they love to explain how they do things, then you've built a relationship that fast. The minute you create a relationship on a job site, they're going to like you and you're going to like them. But if you come on a job site, I had a client do this, came on a job site, put his arms like this and just stared at all the subcontractors working all day long. Literally like this.
Subs hate that.
Oh, they hated it. I've had 2 or 3 sub clients do that. They didn't want to build any kind of relationship. And then when they came to me, I don't like that sub. He brought his dog on a job site. His dog jumped on my wife, and I don't like that. Oh,
Well, yeah, no one would like that, Dad.
I know it, but the point is that, but he didn't build a relationship with them, you know? So
No, that's a good reason not to like that sub.
I know that, but it didn't help just
That was
staying
a
there
bad
like this
example.
all day long. And it's not that hard to create relationships with people.
That's
Okay,
that's
fine. My
getting
wife's
that's getting away from his question.
okay. Next question, Josh. Do you still install primers on P-traps that aren't used much like floor drains to prevent it from drying out?
Primers on P-traps that aren't used.
What do you mean by P-trap primer?
No, the P-trap, like a
I
plumbing
know, but a
P-trap.
primer. Yeah, it's gonna be under a headwater pressure test. So you're gonna need the same glue to install that. And if it doesn't pass the headwater pressure test, then you're gonna be in trouble. They're gonna put a cap on that P-trap so that when they have the pipe going through the roof, they're gonna fill that pipe with water. And if it leaks, you got a problem. So
Mhm.
just treat it like it's gonna have to hold water no matter what, and you'll be just fine.
I get the question now too. It took me a second.
Okay. Next one.
Good job. Good job.
How do you say that? Uptel V?
Uptel V.
Uptel V. Okay, a good question. I'll let you read that one. Sweetie.
Okay. Own a home on acreage with 2 tax lots with a mortgage. Have you seen a lender allow the sales of one of the lots if the value of the home plus 1 lot is greater than the mortgage balance?
The house is on both lots, or are they separate?
Own.
2 tax ID numbers.
Oh, there we go.
There we
Own
go.
a home. Okay.
Own a home on acreage with 2 tax lots with a mortgage.
mortgage.
Have you seen a lender allow the sale of one of the lots if the loan? No, I have not. And I'll explain why. They don't want to give up equity. And if the home is on both lots, it's straddling both of them, then you're going to have to separate it. But if the home is separate on one parcel, that's great. Now, the only way they're going to release that, when I did this years ago, is if I had 40% paid off on the loan or some percentage. And they'll say, okay, we're willing to let go of this because we know that you still have teeth in the game. So the one thing you want to avoid, and I tell this to a lot of owner builders, they've got 6 acres and they know they can split it into 2 different parcels. Oh, we'll just get a loan and put a house on it, but we'll separate that later. No, you won't. Not while the bank has control of it. You're going to want to separate that first. And then if you can with the county, if the county and city allow you to do that, get that separated first. That way, when you go to the bank, for that lot that you're going to build on, then you keep that lot completely out of the teeth of the banks. End of story. If you can get that done before all that, all power to you. Okay. Next question. I did that pretty quick, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Good job.
my wife and my daughter.
Wives.
My wife and my daughter.
We are not.
We're teaching me to not,
Mm-mm.
browbeat it to death. So Mary 28, Maria 28. Okay. Can you do a video on decks before summer? That's a good one. Let's add that one to the list. In fact, I was supposed to ask everybody.
Oh, yeah.
If you have any ideas for videos, please put them in the comment section here. My wife and my daughter will track those and we'll put them in a queue that we need to do that one. We need to do
Hey,
this
we're
one.
going up.
So-
Do we want to do a video on our deck while we're up
We'll
there?
do a video on the deck up in the mountain. We're going to be up there this weekend. We just finished a home. Look for a nice finished video down the road on a job we just completed. We'll do a video on that deck. And we have some great B-roll of how it was built and all that. And I just to keep it real simple, I like fully covered decks. I don't like decks that have water and weather that can get through them like that.
Mhm.
That's where deck. Now, I don't care how protected you are with the top plate and all the things you can do that are kind of neat. No matter what, it's going to weather away. And if you can have a full membrane where water comes off, all power to you. And that's the kind of deck we'll talk about on a video.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep. I just
All right.
added that to our notes. So.
Okay. Thanks. There. Good
This is
question.
2-part.
Two-part. I'll let you read that one, Kenzie.
Steven at Play More Music Studio. I don't know. Hey team, love your YouTube channel. Well done. Thanks. Question, just met with the GC and excavator at my land and it's too much of a slope for a monolithic slab. They recommend a 6-foot crawl space or a full basement. I don't want a crawl space or basement rodents. Can pier and beam be a cost-effective option? 30 by 34 and corner to corner. It's a 6-foot slope. Thoughts?
6-foot slope.
I don't know.
Don't want to do a crawl space or a basement.
Post and beam is going to be less efficient for the home because you're going to have a lot of wind and air come through there.
Mhm.
And so by putting that home closer to the earth, it's going to be a lot more efficient. That's the first thing to do. But a 6-foot crawl space, I don't know. I'd have to look at the land without looking at it. But going from a 6-foot to a basement, well, if you're going to have to do a crawl space and it's just 6 foot, yeah, it's 2 more feet and you got all that extra square footage.
Yeah,
So
I would do the basement.
And so I would do the basement on that particular situation. I'm not a fan of post beam or post or pier or any of those types of construction. I just don't like them because I have a lot of cons. Now, if you're on Malibu and the beach is here and you got to build out over the beach and you have to do piers because water is going to come to the house and you got to be up and away, I can see situations like that. But 6 foot isn't a steep enough incline for me to go posts or piers or columns or anything like that. I'd try to see if I can work it out some other way. But I wouldn't do the 6 foot. That's a 3-foot crawl. Yeah. Save some money, but 6 foot, I just go all the way to 9 foot. We'll do a video on some crawl space we have, and we may
Okay.
get some comments, some feedback. What would you do with this space? It's a video we'll do. What would you do with this space? Would you dig it out and create a whole subterranean something, or would you just create the most incredible theater room ever? What would you do? And watch for that post to come in the next couple of weeks. But we've got a potential for, it was going to be a 3-foot crawl space. It turned into an 8.5-foot crawl space. And what would you do with that space? So we'll do a video on that. We'll add that to our queue. So,
Awesome. Good job.
okay.
Good feedback.
Josh, if I DIY board and batten, it seems this would almost be the same cost as stucco hired out. Does that sound right? Yes, and with the added advantage that if you did stucco, you're going to get 1 inch of polyiso foam. That's how we do it in the southwest part of Utah, and it will add an additional R3 to your home.
He's in Cedar.
I know. Even in Cedar, I just did a home out west and we did stucco and the gray coat's on it right now. You can go out there and take a look at it, look at the workmanship of it, but you're going to get an additional R value on that home with stucco, and it's going to last a lot longer, because if you do batten board and if you don't go hardy, you go regular, a lesser quality OSB product, it's not going to last very long. You'd have to maintain it. So it's just the way it goes. If I go batten board, I'm going full hardy, full cement board. It's going to last a long time. Plus, I'm going to have a Class A fire rating on it. With others, you're not going to have that. So that's very costly. So yeah, you could save a lot of money by going stucco on that one. Okay. Next question, Doug B. I'll read that one, sweetie.
Okay. About how much does external stucco add to the cost of an omniblock house? Does it require painting / sealing? Is it prone to cracking over time? Thanks.
It's not prone to cracking because you're putting it right on concrete, literally on concrete, and that's got rebar and concrete inside it. And if the only way it's going to crack is if the wall cracks, and if it's engineered right and done right, that wall is not going to crack.
But you don't have to paint it.
But you don't have to paint it. The neat thing with OmniBlock is
Or
that you
seal
don't
it.
have any lath product. All right. You don't even, I've done it even without the J channel at the bottom, because I sealed the bottom transition, which is another story. It's in that video I saw. I do the same transition cover up on my OmniBlock home, and I got away with the J channel. So it's just a gray coat to smooth everything out, take out the highs and lows, and then a finish coat on top of that. Really, really slick. And it will look like no one would ever think that it's an OmniBlock home, because it looks commercial. They cover it with stucco. It's just absolutely beautiful, and people say, "Wow!" And then after it's all done, it's pretty amazing. So, okay, next question, James Van. Okay, geotech around me, Albany, New York, came out to be to a minimum of 8,000 to drill. Am I talking to the wrong people or what? Good question. A lot of geotechs are kind of getting away from the backhoe, over X 12 feet down, and then seeing the strata. And I like that over the drill because I can see capillary structures of root structures and how deep they go when it's done with a backhoe. $8,000 is a little on the pricey side, but then again, you're in New York, so that could be a price. If you're in, where did you say, Albany? That's the northern part of the state, north of New York, if I'm correct. And that's a little high. You can shop around to ask them, but they're maybe including the drill, on-site drill. Ask them if you can do a backhoe. You find an excavator, come dig down 2 or 3 test pits and see if you can get that price down. And that's why I have my own heavy equipment. I just like on a big mountain job, I took my Traco, took it on the job site, dug down 2 or 3 test pits. They tested them, got some proctors, pulled it out. We're all good. If you know an excavator and who wants to do the work anyway, ask them, hey, can you include the test pits on this? And same thing with the perk test if you're going to do a septic on that property. But that's in my area. How much would that cost, sweetie?
$2,000.
About $2,000 to $3,500 in our neck of the woods. With the septic, it'd be another $1,000 or $1,500. But that's still half of what you're paying there. So it wouldn't be hard to just shop around a little bit on that one. Okay. Okay, Bradley James. I'm getting so much kickback from every bank I've talked to about lending to me for the sole reason I haven't actually built a house before. They have suggested if I know a builder who can just sign. Ask them what they mean by sign. Sign off on the paperwork for me. They would be able to approve the loan for much easier. What are your thoughts on this? Will this be a pain for me? 2 questions. All right. If you do find a contractor, will you sign off on this? And you may have to pay them a fee to do that, but you will manage the project. But go to How to Build Your Own Home, take the self-managed course. In the download section, there's a letter to lenders. All right. We've had some success where owner builders actually take that to the lender. And some have actually said, this is quite impressive. We're really willing to loan to you the money to build your own home because we see that you're actually in a program that's going to take you through the whole process of construction management. So take that letter to the lender and see what happens there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting some really good feedback with that letter. And I think more and more banks are more apt if the student is prepared in that fashion. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I lost my spot. There I am.
There you are. There we are. How to build your home. That's the side you go to. Alan Babchuk. I'll let you read
Gotcha.
that.
Do you think it's a good idea for owner builders to do the excavations themselves? We just had an owner builder
I'll let you get
ask me that
Kenzie went
question
through this
yesterday.
today. I'll let her respond to that one.
I had an owner builder literally ask me that question yesterday, and his home is 20,000 square feet.
20,000.
So, and his over-X is just a foot, but for 20,000 square feet, that's still a lot. And so I was talking with him, like, is it worth your time? And I said, let me just get a bid for you. Okay. And then you can decide from there. So I got him a bid and he weighed it. Is like, is this worth my time for me to try and do it myself? Or should I just pay this fee? And it came out to like $7,000 for someone to just come in and do it. And he's like, just go ahead and do it, because an excavator, he knows how to read the soils report. He'll get it done correctly. He'll request the compaction inspections for you too. Like, he'll take care of all of that with the geotech, and he'll get you pad ready. So you just have to, I would get a quote first, and then I would decide, is it worth my time for me to do it? Oh, 2 quotes. Yeah. Get 2 quotes. Is it worth my time to do it, or should I just have them do it? That's what we told him.
And pad ready means it's level.
Yeah.
So if that pad is not ready, meaning level, your concrete guy is going to be complaining.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so if you don't know how to use a laser to level, and that's a scary thing to learn how to do, then the excavator's got that in their house, their wheelhouse, and they're going to be able to do that for you as well.
Yeah.
So there's pros and cons to that. We had a bid for excavation on Mountain Home. We did. It was over $90,000.
Yeah.
So I'm very talented with a lot of heavy equipment. So I actually bought some heavy equipment because I had other work lined out, and we did that ourselves, and it helped us with our costs quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But with 1 foot over X, that's not a big issue. It depends on.
It was the size.
Yeah, you look at your soils report, and that can tell you a lot of things. And you looking at the land, oh my gosh, the rocks everywhere. You know, that's going to tell you a lot.
Yeah.
So.
For me personally, as someone who's in construction and deals with it every day, I would much rather do like finishes on a home. I'd rather put an accent wall together myself, or install doorknobs hardware, or install doors. I'd rather do, or clean the house, like save costs there. I'd rather save stuff on more of those little things than items that are very, very impactful to how your project will be, like concrete and your excavation and your framing. Like, those are really big items that I would always go to a professional for.
That's why we're a good team, because I like the structural. She likes the finish.
Yeah.
So I like to save money on the structural. She likes to save money on the finish.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good thing.
So it's,
What we just answered.
and maybe we'll do another video on this.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, social label. Thanks for all these ideas, folks. It's really, really good to do that. But yeah, you look at your geotech report. That's going to tell you everything. And if you want to consult, I've done this many times with clients, and I can tell them, hey, you can save a lot of money if you do this yourself. And I can give you some pointers on how to do that. But if you've got bids coming in that are $40,000, $60,000, $80,000 for stuff, you might want to look at that. Oh man, what could I do to save that? Because like Kenzie likes to save on some finish, but you can't save a lot of money on finish. You can save it, but it's not a lot compared to big ticket items that, man, I'm going to take a bite out of that sucker. I'm going to wrestle with that. I'm going to try to figure that out. So, but it depends on the complexity, and if it's too complex, you want to avoid it. But if it's not complex, it's something you might want to think about.
That's why, and that's what I told the homeowner too. It's like, do your grading yourself. Let the excavator get it pad ready, do all that, do the overX, meet compaction, and you bring in the other fill, you grade it around because he has a tractor. Why don't you do that? You move the dirt, get it ready for your flat work, your driveway, all that. So like, yeah, you can do that, I think.
Right.
And that doesn't require a compaction test. That doesn't require.
Right.
It's
Good
not
one.
as
We'll have to do
not
another
as
question.
difficult.
We'll add that to our videos today.
Okay.
Okay. Josh, thanks for posting the foundation transition seal video. Is that the same primer you put on deck OSB to weatherproof it? Yes. Same product.
Yep.
Okay. Tintin Piggy. Hi, good to hear from you, and thank you for the information and helping everyone. I love your live stream chats. We do
Well,
too. So
thanks.
it's fun. Okay. Josh, on the P-trap primer question, the primer adds a little water to the floor drain so it doesn't dry out.
I can only think of like plumber's primer before they put the other thing. That's all.
The only thing I think it is the primer the plumbers use to prime and soften the PVC before you actually apply the glue to it. So it won't stick if you don't have that primer combo mix unless you're doing a hot blue, which is the both of them combined. So that's what I'm thinking. I'm not quite sure what you mean by primer. Will there be an issue with smell if the floor drain never gets used and the water sitting in the P-trap dries out? Yes, you'll start to smell sewer coming up, which is why a lot of people put in antifreeze inside those P-traps to actually stop that, and it keeps it from freezing if it's too close to the surface. A lot of mountain homes that get really, really cold do that, and a lot of southern homes where it gets hot and that water gets stinky over time. That's why people like to wash out their garages. If they had a P-trap there, they constantly filling it up and washing it out. You can also put a little bleach in there. Just put a little bit of bleach and it kills everything in there and it keeps things from growing. So
Don't do bleach if you have a septic.
Yeah, but don't do bleach if you have a septic. So, okay.
That's a good quick tip.
Yeah. Rennie Delgado. Hey, Rennie. Good evening, sir. Thank you for what you guys do every Thursday. Is it more complicated to do an owner build for a fourplex than SFH? What's that mean? Also, can I start with the $800 program or not a good idea? I don't know what you mean by SFH.
Single family home.
Oh, single family home. Okay.
Good job, Mom.
I'll get to that. It's a really good question. But yes, take the self-managed course. It's going to help you out a lot. I've helped 2 students do fourplexes in California. And so it's the same program, same everything. It's quite phenomenal. Even had a student do a duplex in California. So I've had one of my biggest groups for students, believe it or not, is Los Angeles County. I get more students in Los Angeles County in a per capita area than anywhere else in the nation. So I've dealt with a lot of complex issues and a lot of building permitting issues. And I'm from that area too, so I know it pretty well. But yeah, you can do a fourplex in this whole program. It's not a problem at all. Not a problem.
Mm-hmm.
But take the self-managed course. Start with the first steps course. It's going to help you. Ivan Butcher. Sounds like Ivan Butcher. Okay. Is number 4 crushed rock concrete the cheapest base for getting a new slab? 1 to 3 feet higher on the lot. It depends on the size of the crushed rock. You don't want too much air cavity inside your foundation. That's why I like
number 4.
Number 4 is a little bigger aggregate, if I'm correct. You want to get a mixture of crushed rock with sand and maybe a little native soils, clay soils. That all locks in there, and then that creates a harder, more compact soil. But if it's just 1 or 2 inch aggregate rock only, then yours is going to have a lot of gap in there. I like to get a real solid surface. Road base, a city spec road base is probably your better bet than just crushed rock if you can.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Nebulous James, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Geotech around me, Albany, New York came out to be a minimum of 8,000 to drill. Am I talking to the wrong people or what? Part 2, ground is clay to at least 6 feet down with water running through various layers. That's a native soil clay, which compacts pretty well, but when it's dry, it's hard as a rock. When it gets moist, it's like mud, just super muddy. So you're going to want to deal with water issues and drainage away from that home. And if you did piers, they're going to have to go down quite a ways. I would say a maximum of between 10 and 14 feet minimum. Could be as shallow as 7 feet if you hit hard pan below all that. But if you don't hit hard pan, you're going to have to go down pretty deep with piers. That's why probably a basement foundation, which with a proper drainage system, we're going to do a video on drainage systems for homes with a nice drainage system around that, and you have all the extra square footage. Think of it this way. If you're going to do a crawl space, you're going to have all that concrete, all that excavation anyway, just to go down an extra 2 or 3 feet. You got a full basement, you're grabbing extra square footage, and that's cheap. And then think about it. If there's a simple way to get access to that from outside, create a whole rental down below to pay for it all. All right. Everyone needs to start thinking in those terms, creating ways to offset the cost of their home by having a room or something that they can rent that's separate entrance, separate access, and kind of quiet and removed from the main living of your home. Think about that. That might be something to add to your whole design process. Okay. Next question. Paul Matson, how much more of a cost would be added going from a 6-foot crawl space to a basement? Let's say its basement is $32,000. All right. I would think the difference might be $8,000. Just throwing it off the top of my head. It's not going to be that much more. And look at the extra square footage you're going to grab from that. I've dealt with this many times, 6-foot and 5-foot crawl spaces.
That's for unfinished too.
That's for
an
unfinished,
unfinished basement.
But every time I run into a crawl space issue that's over 3 feet, I push it to the full 9 foot as much as I possibly can, because it's so much cheaper for the square footage versus what you're already paying for anyway. So think about that. Okay. Charles Keys, Senior. A new duplex was for sale at $350K, then went to $500K. How do I price the square footage for owner builder? Really good question. With a duplex, even a fourplex, you're going to have a better economy of scale on the purchasing and getting subs. Subs will come any day, and you'll get a better opportunity for people to give you bids because there's more work in a single spot. Like I'm working with 2 wonderful clients, and I hope they're listening to me right now. It's a mother and a daughter and the 2 families and all that. And I said, let's get these both designed at the same time because I can push for an economy of scale because there's more work in one spot. What subs don't like to do is come to a home that's a small home, pull their heavy trailer, and spend all that gas just for one job that's far away. But if they can get 2 there, spend more time there, they're going to make more money in one spot.
I think he's talking about on the first steps course, number 3, trying to figure out how much his home is going to cost.
Yes. Number 3 module, first steps course will help you with that. You're going to want to find a home, not a duplex. Just find a regular home that's been sold with some of the same features, roof, stucco, that kind of stuff. And if you can find a comparable home with close to the same square footage, that's for sale, that is new. Go through that formula. It's going to give you the square foot cost in your area, a close approximation of the cost per square foot to build in your particular area. But take that first steps course. Module 3 is going to help you out immensely. And do it 2 or 3 times if you can. If there's been enough that's been recently sold, and talk to a realtor, say, can you give me a list of recent solds in your area? It's called a CMA, comparable market analysis, on recent sold or even what's for sale. I would do it for what's for sale because that's what it's come to the market. That's how much they're trying to sell it for. That module is going to help remove a couple of fees so you can get to the real bottom dollar. So module 3 is going to help you out a lot. Okay. Thanks, Honey, for clarifying that. Honey Caffeina, we haven't seen that one in a long time. Honey Caffeina, welcome back. I remember names. I'm very good at that. Not faces and names, but just particular names. Hello, thank you for teaching and sharing. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Okay, I asked for more info on this one. I don't know what he's asking.
Let's see. Framing a career in the next 15 years.
Oh, is it good? Yes. Would a framing career be good in the next 15 years? That's what I'm guessing he's saying.
That's a really good
I
question.
would say yes.
I don't know. I don't know what the world's going to be like. I have personal beliefs about what the world's going to be like in the next 15 years. So I don't want to get
I
into
would
that.
say any trade.
Any trade,
I would say yes.
my wife would say that.
Trades are good. That is going to be a talent you could have for your whole life. Yes. Yes. Yes.
In 15 years, you're going to want to have a crew, and you're not going to want to do any more framing because it does beat you up pretty bad. And so you're eventually going to have to bring in young people, train them, and let them go on their way. But there's going to be a lot of turnover as you move forward. But keep in mind, and this is just one piece of advice, if I was going to go into the trades, I would go into plumbing, electrical, or HVAC because I can go into service calls when there's no new building taking place. And so when there's no new building, the first people to get hit are framers and concrete people.
Yep.
They get hit really, really hard. So if you can
I-
weather economics and stuff like that, if there's no framers in your area for 150 miles, but there's 20 homes going up in a year, man, you could come in and kind of control the market. So there's a lot of factors to consider there, but I could talk forever on that. But I hope we touched a few bases to help you out.
I do want to bring up a point in the fact of the other downturn in 2008, when the building and everything was going down. They got creative. A lot of the framers and that got creative. A wall bed company came out. Then they were focusing on casitas and retirement communities. They did get creative. I want to make that.
Yeah, I still think plumbers, electricians, like if I was going to go into a trade, I would be a plumber, electrician or an HVAC guy, because then you can also do service calls.
Yes.
If you have to switch from new construction to service calls, that's what I would do.
Yeah,
Yes.
gives you more diversity.
Mm-hmm.
And then as for framing, if you can do finished carpentry to do remodels too, that's even a more plus. So always trying to extend your reach with other verticals. Other verticals means other ways to bring in revenue into your business. So, okay. All right. Well,
Okay.
we finished it. We did a great
Woo.
job today. Just go to howtobuildyourownhome.com. It's right there. Look at the course, the first steps course. And it was created by 15 years as an educator with about 20 years in construction. So it's a great combination of great instruction with great information. So check it out, How to Build Your Own Home. And we'll be here in 2 weeks, right?
Mhm.
You want to say that?
Yeah. 2 weeks, not next.
2 weeks. Won't be here next.
We won't be here next week, so we'll see you in 2 weeks. You have a week off.
Yeah, 2 weeks. See you guys then.